Hello and welcome to the show. Yes, this is live where anything can happen. Today we start our new series, Video Marketing for Startups, Zero to Hero. We'll be talking to startup businesses or businesses with very little online presence, where we'll help them with their strategy, content marketing, and video marketing. In this first season, we'll be working with entrepreneur Gary Twining-Wright of Twinings Security and Consultancy, who wants to develop his business online. We'll follow his journey week by week. In this first episode, we meet Gary, find out more about him and his business, his passion, why he does it, and what drives him, and to understand his struggle so we can design a video marketing strategy for him that is then executed over the coming weeks. I'm also once again joined by our highly respected digital marketing expert, entrepreneur, Olando, Salina.
Thank you.
So, my name is Timothy Spiers. I'm a content creator and marketeer. I run Slipstream Creative Agency, the show's sponsor. We'll be here every Tuesday at 12:30 discussing video marketing and production and all that good stuff. The purpose of this channel is to demystify video marketing and help all you guys create better content and distribute it effectively, creating better businesses for a better world. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Please let me know in the comments where you're from, because it's just nice to know who's joining us today. So to set the scene, the world's been hit by change. Some have thrived, many have struggled. But in every economic downturn in history, there's always a rise in entrepreneurship. Often the start of new innovative businesses. And we've certainly seen bricks and mortar businesses needing to develop their online trading, or individuals wanting a better way of life and starting their own online businesses. So there's some interesting facts. Astonishingly, over 835,000 new businesses were registered in the UK during 2020.
Wow.
Yep, that's 41% increase on 2019, 96% increase on 2018, and 141% increase on 2017. So with so much activity and so many startups, how do you stand out from the crowd that's not going to break the bank and give us a good return on our money? Because most of us aren't sitting on a ton of cash, right? And need to be very careful how we invest our time and money. Well, we're not only going to tell you how to do that, we're going to show you live, step by step on the show each week as we walk you through the process. So again, thanks for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what type of business you're in. So really interesting to see what sectors are tuning in. And if you've got any questions, put them in the comments and we'll get to as many as we can as we go along. So today I'd like to introduce our guests today, and I want to say hello once again to Olando, Salina, MSc, MCIM. Good to have you back on this journey with us. How are you doing today, Olando?
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be back. Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Loud and clear. Roger that.
Amazing. I'm at another building in London today. Bright skies, a few scattered showers, but really looking forward to the session today with yourself and Gary.
Well, nice to hear you get about then, not stuck at home again.
Yes.
So Olando, tell me, you got some flashy little letters at the end of your name, MSc, MCIM. Tell us about that.
Okay, MSc is Master of Science. So those are the letters that I was awarded with after I did my master's degree in marketing. And MCIM, I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So in order to continue to maintain these lovely letters, MCIM, you have to have continuous progress in the field of marketing and show that you are contributing to marketing in some way. And there's also a small fee, obviously, because there are resource centers that you can tap into, and networks, etc. So all of this has to be paid for, and those membership fees help to do that.
Right, so not only a marketing expert, but a scientist by the sounds of it. So All good, right?
Exactly.
Pleased about that.
Yeah.
For any scientists out there, they've got a very scientific question. I expect Olando to know the answer, right?
Yes.
Right, and welcome to our special guest to the show, Gary, who also has some flashy letters to the end of his name. Gary is a Muay Thai instructor with over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. Gary and his team provide close protection, man guarding, door supervision, first response, and undercover teams for crime prevention to companies and individuals in the public and private sector. So, Gary, pleased to have you here. How are you doing?
Oh, good, Tim. Nice to meet you guys. Nice to see you, Orlando. It's great to be here.
So, do we quiz you on what the letters are at the end of your name, or should we just move on?
You can quiz me. I mean, I can tell you what they are. I mean, one of them is the Institute of Strategic Risk Management, which is, I think, is very important to be members of things where what we're involved in security is be involved, be a membership, or when you're understanding risk management and how to use risk management. The other one, which I'd like to put up as well, is I'm a member of the National Federation of Personal Safety, as I've been one of their trainers for well over a decade. And being involved in security, as you're well aware, we do a lot of control and restraint and things like that. And it's important to have the understanding and knowledge of how to deal with people in violent situations and non-violent situations.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. Really interesting. Thanks for that, Gary.
You're welcome.
So just to do the introduction to this, today the goal is to create a clear video marketing strategy so we can plan and produce purpose-driven content that is promoted with precision. Sounds good, right? But to get there, we need to get to know Gary and his business and what his goals are. So diving straight in, Gary, why did you get into this?
What, security, or why I'm into getting into marketing, Tim?
Well, your whole security company, what was the inspiration in the early days?
But the early days, I mean, I'm going back over 34 years now. I'm giving my age away, Tim. That's a ball game. But if I go back over maybe the last 15 or so years, 15, 20 years, let's say about 15 years, I saw the industry changing. And it was changing for the better. And to understand it is security, whereas the old days used the word bouncer, where people would be bounced out. Things changed. We weren't becoming bouncers anymore. We were becoming security operatives. We were becoming frontline first responders, and we were dealing with, not just violent people. We were dealing with drunk people, vulnerable people. We were dealing with all sorts of situations. So again, well over 15 years ago, I looked at this and thought, we need to change.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we're looking after people's sons, daughters, wives, sisters, and that's our role in that job thing. And I became very passionate about looking after people.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. I mean, what was the whole motivation behind that, Gary?
Well, the whole motivation behind it is, at the end of the day, I care. I care a lot about people. I care for people where they go and what they do. And that's the thing about it is, if you want to go out somewhere, whether it's an event, a bar, a club, a show, you want to feel safe in these environments.
Yeah.
For myself, I grew up, in the 70s and the 80s, we had the IRA threat and things like that. And security was very low down the risk. Now we're quite high up on the risk and dealing with bits and pieces. So for me, it's a personal thing to understand and look after people. Yeah.
So within your industry, what things are you really passionate about?
The main thing is training the staff, getting up to the right level. Currently, the SIA have a basic level, and it is a very basic level for the security operative. Our whole aim and game is to create a professional security operative who can deal with all situations, not just violent situations, but medical emergencies, fire situations, dealing with welfare people, vulnerable people, dealing with people involved in drugs. And for me, is to create the ultimate. We are the first responders for everybody out there, and that's what drives me to make sure my staff and myself we're always at that higher level.
So we need like a new telephone number, like 333 or something like that. So we call Gary.
Definitely. Not just me, but you call my company.
Right. Okay. So we'll try and add that into the marketing strategy. I'm not sure whether we can get you those triple numbers, but
we'll give it a try.
we'll give it a try. But national publication and marketing. So we'll see.
We are the fourth emergency service.
Yeah. So just want to welcome some people into the house. We've got in the chat, who have we got? We've got Cloudy. Thanks for dropping in, Cloudy. There we go. And who else have we got? Kerem. Kerem's come in to see us. Nice to see you today, Kerem. And if you've got any questions, please just drop them in the comments below. So I'm just quite interested to know a little bit more specifics about your sort of your business, where you want to take all this. So Olando, do you want to just dive in with a few questions here?
Well, I had a couple of questions for Gary. So it's quite interesting, the backstory of why you got into this, what motivates you, especially as it relates to the security industry. And again, in developing any strategy, that's the foundation as to why you're doing it. You're doing it for the right reasons. You're passionate about what you do, etc. But then that's the personal drive. But what will be the drive for the for the business itself? Obviously, you ask any entrepreneur as well to make money. But other than that, is the aim of the business similar to the personal aim, or is it you have different goals that you're trying to achieve as an entrepreneur and as a business?
Yeah,
it's a yes and no answer on that. I mean, you've also got your morals and values and your goals as a company, and your personal ones do come into play when you've got your business in play. So a high percentage is yes. I mean, what we want to achieve, we're a specialist company. We're not just a security company. We specialise in lots of things which we're capable of doing. As I said before, our staff are medics. They're trained in mental health, first aid. And it's try and put that information out there. We're not just that basic security company where you get a guy stand there and he's happy to stand there. We're far more than that. We are specialised. We're niche.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. And when Tim was telling me about our discussion today, I thought it quite interesting. And I wanted to ask you if there are any particular stories, one that you can share with us, where you had to go, or your team had to go above and beyond the call as I said, first responders or dealing with violent situations. Because when people see security, they think, oh, that's all they do. They just stand there in case stuff happens. They don't know that you guys are trained in different areas to deal with different situations and different types of people.
Well, we'll put it this way, as I say, I can't really give most things away, but I'll give you a prime example of some of the stuff we've been doing over the last sort of 12 months. We've actually had to save people's lives. We had one gentleman who actually slashed his throat open with one of my staff. She actually had to save his life. She managed to stitch him up. Well, not stitch him up, but patch him up, keep him alive, wait till the ambulance gets there.
Wow.
And that's just a basic standard thing. And not only that, she had to deal with his partner who was having a complete mental health breakdown and deal with that while she was having to save this gentleman's life.
Wow.
That's some of the basic stuff. Myself personally, in the last 12 months, I've had to put airways into people who've been taking drug overdoses and kept them alive using CPR and get them into hospital.
Right. You are prepared for almost any situation.
Any situation, absolutely. I mean, in my entire career of 34 years, we've only dealt with 4 fires over that time.
Yeah.
Where 2 of them we managed to put out, the other 2, we had to call 999.
Yeah.
But the majority of the stuff is we deal with people on a one-to-one basis. We are the first response to anything which happens in events, bars, clubs, corporate society. We were always the first people there.
Brilliant. And to me, that's one of your unique. Sorry, Tim. Yeah, maybe thinking the same lines.
Well, no, I was just going to say. I mean, that sounds more than I would expect from a regular security company. When you're dealing with saving people's lives, is that quite normal? For other companies in your sector, is that quite normal that? When I think of security companies, I don't think of them as, actually hands-on, as I would imagine a paramedic, like saving people's lives and things like that. Is that normal?
Yeah, it is for us. I mean, for us, because we've been doing it a long time. I mean, we've worked countless festivals and bits and pieces where we've been in that position where we've had to save lives. It's only now that the SIA have required for a security officer to have basic first aid knowledge. We've always looked at it. sort of say 10 years ago, our guys need more than that, because we've had people epileptic seizures in front of us. We've had drug overdoses in front of us. And when we looked at that, we are there. We can't just stand there and watch. And I've been in many festivals where we've been working undercover along with my partner, and there's been a situation where there's been an unconscious person. I've said to security, "Can you deal with this?" They just went no. So we've had to come out of being undercover and deal with the emergency to save that person's life. So a lot of people don't quite understand, what unique and specialist company, that's what we do, and we'll be there for those moments in time.
And this is part of the goals in the discovery sessions that we will have with a client like yourself, to understand what separates you from, the competition. These are unique to your business at this point in time, and not because, first of all, from my understanding, is how people, the different types of environments and different types of people that you encounter, that you prepare your team for almost anything. So that is your value proposition, your unique selling proposition, isn't it?
We say that. We run training for our staff every 4 to 6 months. We use control and restraint, handcuffing, and bits and pieces. That is an ongoing training system we have for our staff. Recently, we just put I think we put 6 staff through the RATAC course, which is Rescue, Trauma and Emergency Care, where we put scenarios in place where people had been blown up, they'd lost limbs. It was on LinkedIn. I think you still look for the pictures up there. And you see our guys in full kit dealing with those environments and those situations. We're looking at, we look to train our staff in the worst possible scenario, hoping it never happens, but we can deal with it if it does.
Gotcha. Totally agree. And now, being the guy behind, the business, are you trying to grow the brand itself? So the brand is something that people recognize and see and know what they're about, or would you like to be part of that, building up your own personal brand and being known as, the guy in the industry that, that people should go to for first response, for specialist security measures, for, private hire, all that sort of stuff?
Really, the second half of your question, I'd like to be the guy who's the specialist. I've been on a long time. I am a specialist. I've been doing it 34 years. I've done everything from security. But I'd also like the company to have its own brand. The company to be able to say, yes, we're taking on Twinings because we know they train their staff well. We know they've got good values and morals, and they've got something standing up behind them. They've got a good, strong leadership behind them. That's it,
because it goes hand in hand. Wouldn't you agree, Tim?
That's right.
The visionary behind the business is that actually is part of the whole value that the business offers. It comes from yourself. So developing your own personal brand actually transfers into your business.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think partly why we sort of drill down to some of these questions is because the more we can get you behind the brand and build your persona and your sort of authority, the more people will buy into that. People want to know who's behind a brand, who's behind these companies, because then they can connect with. They will trust you as opposed to just trusting a brand. And so I think your sort of how you come across is really, really important, and your personal branding, I think, is important.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you on that.
So I'm really also interested, what sort of is the actual services or products that you want to be promoting to sell?
On a basic level, we like to promote our company just as what we are. We are a security company. We do specialise. Our specialised section is a specialised section, but we do supply good quality door staff. We do supply good quality corporate officers, concierge staff. Again, we just done that. We were part of the COVID response team for 2020 for the NHS, which they had to bring a specialist company to do it, and we were that specialist company, so we were brought in to do that. But to sell the company on the basic level, we supply good quality trained staff, which are higher than your standard SIA.
Yeah. And are you finding it difficult to get that sort of message across to people then?
All the time. It's in the security industries, there's many companies out there. And the trouble is, people go for the cheapest option sometimes, and it's easy to have the cheapest option. And you can look at someone's risk assessment and they could have nothing go wrong for years and years and years, and they're quite happy to be in that situation. But the day it goes wrong, that person or that team is not skilled enough to deal with that situation. So, is that a good investment at the end of the day? Yeah. Would you rather have a skilled team in place which can deal with everything, or you have that basic team which, when it does go wrong, stand there and they can't deal with the situation?
Yeah, I can definitely see there's some. I mean, one of our things is we always ask people, what's your USP? How are you different from the competitors, and how are you unique and special and everything? But I think you've already given us some really key things there, about really high level of training, high level of qualification, high level of accountability for yourself and your staff. I think that's really quite clear. And I think that's really, really good and really important to get that message across. So I can really see that playing out as well.
Yeah.
I'm really getting a sense that we need to try and sort of promote you, get you across as like the expert, really, and to be a bit of a thought leader in the industry. Would you say that's fair to say?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. As I say, I keep saying this, but I've been there 34 years. I've done every form of security which can be known to man and person. Yeah. So I have a full understanding and working knowledge of most of this stuff. A lot of these so-called high-end decision makers have never been on the ground. They've walked out of university, they've walked straight into their situation, and they've never been the person on the ground. I worked my way up from the basics now to the level where I am now.
Yeah, yeah. Just look at some interesting questions here coming in. So this is interesting, Olando. Do you have any preferred platforms for content marketing and advertising aside from YouTube? What's your thoughts on that, Olando?
Well, again, it all depends on your audience and what you're trying to promote. So your platform should be relative to your audience. You won't go out on Instagram if you're trying to sell, for example, you're trying to sell something that is direct to business. Let's say you're trying to sell a mortgage or finance. You may find a better audience on LinkedIn or maybe even Twitter. Yeah. So it depends on your audience, and it depends on obviously what you're trying to communicate. This needs to match.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And Gary, have you found you've had, I know you don't have, we spoke about this, you don't have much of an online presence at all. It's one of the reasons you really want to step into this. But have you, with the little interaction you've had, found certain platforms, you get better interactions from your potential audience?
I mean, like any company, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on Twitter. The only thing I find with our audience, we attract more security companies.
Right.
So, for us personally, I mean, we don't really want to be attracting other security companies, and we don't really want to be following other security companies. Yeah. What they do is what they do. What we do is what we do. So it's finding the right people out there. So, I don't know what the best platform is nowadays, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, that comes to the next question. Sorry, Tim, we jump in because while I have it in my head, as we're talking about audience, you offer so many different types of services, ranging from, what the standard, no offense, to very specialist, and that's for almost any company. Are there any particular audiences or people that you try, or businesses I want to work specifically with these audiences? Because you can't be everything to everyone, I'm sure.
Well, that's the trouble, is because we spent so much time being a specialist company, I feel we've lost out on our corporate side. We're still very much in events, so we don't have a lot of issues with events because we're still there in events. But it's that corporate side which I feel we've lost as a company now, and working with some more blue chip companies.
Gotcha.
So it sounds to me like we need to segment your audiences. And then market specifically, or create content that's marketed to those different audiences. Because at the moment, clearly, whatever you're trying to do, you're attracting the wrong audience. Although other security companies, their individuals might benefit from some of your training. Would that be fair to say? Is your training available only to your staff or to other individuals in other companies?
Our training is available to everybody out there. I mean, we're fully licensed training company. We can go anywhere. We can train anybody, and we're doing it. I mean, Plymouth next week training people. So there you go.
Yeah. So then I think it's fair to say that some of that audience you've already got, we can put different content in front of them to benefit them, but then we need to create other channels and other types of content that will be specific to that particular audience, your corporate clients and individuals, corporate individuals or public sector. So I think those are slightly different audiences, and we could create, I think, with you, we could create different content that would be relevant to that. So that's quite interesting. Just to look at some other questions coming in. What's the most effective strategy for building and maintaining company brand awareness and loyalty? Great question from Kerem.
Now that in itself, if you want me to jump in here, Tim, most effective strategy in itself is something that takes time to develop. You start by asking all the right questions. You do your research. You look at the industry, the competition. So it's a very difficult question to answer as a one-off. So it all, as I said, it's all relative to the business you're in and what your goals are, who your audience is. So maybe if you come on the session next, Karen, we could probably try and work at developing your strategy to help create brand awareness and loyalty. Yeah,
and I think a lot of the purpose of doing these live streams and with Gary, and we'll be doing it with other businesses, is so that you can see the discussion we have to elicit the information we need to create a strategy that's specific to that business. So you can hear now the different types of questions we're asking Gary, and you'll see next week the strategy we design that we come up with to help Gary's business. So all these types of questions we're asking will be things you need to ask yourself and your business, or the creative team you're working with, to develop the strategy that's right for you. Wouldn't you say that's fair to say, Gary? Sorry, Olando.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can ask questions all day long, Gary, and we'll probably at the end of it, you'll be like, okay, right, guys, I've done enough talking today. But the more information we have about you, your business, the communication, the messages you put out there, just now you said that you're attracting a lot of other security companies. There could be the competition trying to see what you're doing to see if they can copy it because they like what they see. Or, as I said, it's an opportunity to have another audience where you deliver services or you white label your service to these companies, another arm. So again, that's asking these questions. We have another avenue that we can investigate. It's how to grow your business from a different perspective that you probably didn't consider,
Yeah.
And what types of messages do you put out there? Is it more visual? Is it you on the ground or the team on the ground in different situations and say what you're doing or what's been done in those scenarios?
What we tend to put out is we use a lot of visual information, short videos, a lot of pictures, what we're doing. We don't tend to do a lot of a write-up. We just visualize what we do and we send it out.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's interesting because, again, obviously we're looking at video marketing strategy. And I think you're on the right track because what you do, some people don't understand it. We can articulate this in as many words as possible, but seeing, a recreation of let's say something at an event that can potentially happen that you guys deal with on a day-to-day basis could put things into perspective, help people understand, oh yeah, okay, right, I understand now what these people do. And it's not just stand by the door,
That's right.
or call the police if something goes wrong.
And Gary, as Olando says, with video content, how do you feel about being on camera, sort of being the face of the company and demonstrating what you do and in tutorials, etc.?
I think it's important for people to see the CEOs of the company and have that understanding that they can actually speak to somebody. I think a lot of CEOs hide themselves away, in the big ivory towers. And I think it's like any general. If you've got to be on the ground, you're on the ground. The people need to see a decent general or a decent person or a company, CEO they can speak to and they can relate to, and to have yourself available to these people when they can see, I really get where that person's coming from, or I don't like that person, or that person has got the right values and ideas which we like.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's perfect. That's ideal, and that really sort of helps us with our planning.
Yeah.
Olando, have you got any other key questions? I mean, I say that there'll be other things that we'll drill down with Gary, but
Yes.
at the moment, are there any other key things you want to ask Gary?
To ask Gary, no. The other questions I want to ask him is stuff that we'd probably take off air, because you'll be giving away some of your secrets, really. But or we don't want to do that, because obviously this is based on building your strategy to help grow your business. But I think we're on the right track, and there's a lot that we've uncovered in this session, about your ambitions, the business ambitions, and then we have to do some research behind that to understand the industry a bit better, understand the competition, what they're doing, and see how we can align your goals and your business goals with what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. No, and I think that makes perfect sense as well. And for the audience out there, there's other things that we will be drilling down into to create our strategy, where we do a lot of research. So we do a lot of research into the industry, and we'll be looking at who the competitors are, what companies, are communicating well, what their strategies are, and just how we position Gary into that. Wouldn't you say, Olando?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, Gary, you're taking the right approach, because there are many businesses today, especially, let's say a lot of startups, based on what Tim was saying, how many businesses were registered in 2020.
Yeah.
That they got a great idea, they've got, a base, they think they're specialists in a certain area, or they have special skills.
Yeah.
They said, right, I'm going to get into it. And they jump straight into the marketing tactics. This is what we're doing. And they haven't taken the time to put a strategy together. This is set out your goals. This is what I want to achieve. This is when I want to achieve it by. This is who I'm targeting. Because, again, unless they've got a pot of money, they just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
But it will help you to spend your money more wisely. And you can see, once you put these metrics in place as to what you're trying to achieve, when you're trying to achieve it, and put these milestones in place, you can actually start seeing a return on your investment a lot sooner, rather than just throwing things out there. Yeah.
And Olando, how important is it for people to have a strategy before they go into their video marketing?
I would say it is absolutely imperative to have a strategy. Otherwise, you're just creating content for content's sake. And you're going to try and fit that content into different platforms, different scenarios. You need to know why you're creating your content, and that's part of your strategy. You need to know who you're creating the content for and what you're saying to them. And you need to understand how they consume media. You may be creating a video and sticking on YouTube, and they don't go there at all. So your strategy is planning, basically. And if you don't plan, I think maybe a quote I've read somewhere, or my grandmother told me: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
And fail, yeah. No, I think absolutely, yeah. Well put. Okay, well, I think that's been really useful session, and really helpful. I hope, Gary, you've gained a lot out of that. So I just want to say thank you so much to Olando and Gary for your time. It's been, I think it's been very valuable. We found out a lot about Gary, and we'll all see you next week, where we'll be talking about our analysis and research and the strategy that we set out for Gary, and a robust plan of action for him to go forward with, and how we'll be working with him on that. So follow his journey week by week on this show, where we help him with his strategy, content production, and video marketing. If you need support or advice in developing a good strategy, please just DM us, myself or Orlando, and we'll get back to you and look forward to having a chat. So thank you for joining us, and see you the same time, same place next week. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for being.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks,
Thank
Gary.
you.
Thank
Tim.
you. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.